yeah. Feel the rhythm as the night gets tight. Ride the vibe under flashing lights. The beat is calling, so jump on board. The groove train's rolling, can't be ignored. All aboard the groove train tonight. Destination's groove, it feels so right. Track to the rhythm, let your heart ignite. We're chasing dreams under neon light. Ooh, this train's got soul, rolling smooth and strong. Hear the whistle blow with a funky song. No ticket needed, the fare is free. Just bring your vibe and your energy. All aboard the groove train tonight. Destination's groove, it feels so right. Track to the rhythm, let your heart ignite. We're chasing dreams under neon light. Ooh, this train's got soul, rolling smooth and strong. Hear the whistle blow with a funky song. No ticket needed, the fare is free. Just bring your vibe and your energy. Engine humming like a bassline flow, wheels spinning fast wherever we go. Fueled by the funk, don't you let it fade. Live in this groove, in the life we made. Tunnel ahead, but we've lost the fear. Together we vibe, the path is clear. Every stop we make leaves sparks behind. We stake our claim on this groove this time.
Tickets, please. All aboard the Groove Train.
Yeah. Feel the rhythm as the night gets tight. Ride the vibe under flashing lights. The beat is calling, so jump on board. The groove train's rolling, can't be ignored. All aboard the groove train tonight. Destination's groove, it feels so right. Track to the rhythm, let your heart ignite. We're chasing dreams under neon light. Ooh, this train's got soul, rolling smooth and strong. Hear the whistle blow with a funky song. No ticket needed, the fare is free. Just bring your vibe and your energy. All aboard the groove train tonight. Destination's groove, it feels so right. Track to the rhythm, let your heart ignite. We're chasing dreams under neon light. Ooh, this train's got soul, rolling smooth and strong. Hear the whistle blow with a funky song. No ticket needed, the fare is free. Just bring your vibe and your energy. Engine humming like a bassline flow, wheels spinning fast wherever we go. Fueled by the funk, don't you let it fade. Live in this groove, in the life we made. Tunnel ahead, but we've lost the fear. Together we vibe, the path is clear. Every stop we make leaves sparks behind. We stake our claim on this groove this time.
You're standing on the platform. Destination unknown. Only one way to get there. All aboard the Groove Train.
This time.
Namaste, salutations, and greetings. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to the Groove Train. You are on the downhill slide to your weekend. I tell you what, I'm excited about this show. I hope you are too. You know, gardening's a lot like building a house.
Yeah.
Yes, because you have to have a strong foundation for both. And tonight we are going to talk about soil amendments, getting this strong foundation for your garden before you start planting. You want to be successful from the get-go. So let me introduce your hosts for tonight's show.
Yeah.
Mama ROACHEE,
Hi.
Sir STEVEO, who is also engineer and producer of this show. Good evening, STEVEO.
Hey, great to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. Smashley. Let's bring Smashley up. Her energy is infectious as her smile. Good evening, Ashley.
You're muted.
Man, that was
Yes,
such an entrance too. What's up, amazing people?
And you know what? Tonight, we have an additional host. One of our guest hosts is joining us. And please bring up and give a warm welcome to Rasta Rhino.
Choo choo.
What's going
What's
on,
up,
everybody?
All
Hope you
aboard.
guys are having a
Welcome.
wonderful night. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, welcome aboard
Rhino.
the Groove Train as guest conductor tonight. Hell yeah.
Thank you, Rasta, for joining us tonight. Love to have you here. So what do you all think about soil? I mean, do you agree that you have to have a strong foundation before you start, you know, if you want to be successful? Steve-O, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I completely agree with you that you have to have a strong foundation, and that is all the way. That is including your nutrients. That is including the microbes that are in the soil. You know, it gets down to the cellular level. Building this foundation, you know, we're not just talking about, you know, good strong soil for good root structure, but we're also talking about the you know, all the goodies and things that it's going to need in order to be successful.
Absolutely. Ashley,
Right.
you've gardened once or twice, grown a couple of plants here and there. What do you think?
Maybe just a little bit. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
important, you know, just maybe a little bit. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you're not going to grow anything that's going to be good for you to smoke or ingest if you're not taking care of your soil. So let's learn it
Absolutely.
together.
Rasta, what is your thoughts on this subject? You know, what do you think about having a strong foundation?
First, I want to say hi to the fearless leader, Kim. Hi, Kim, and everybody.
So,
But, you know, I would always say, a lot of times I would say, you know, talking to new growers, it always starts with good genetics. But, you know, I was wrong. You know, it starts with good soil, because if you ain't got good soil, then genetics ain't going to do shit. Or they're going to burn it, or they're going to do this or that. You know, you gotta have your right mixture.
That's right.
much love, DC Sweeps.
Oh, DC, Kim, hello. We don't have comments up tonight, so we're kind of flying a little blind. You know, one of the things that I always start out with, and that is a soil slurry test, because in my opinion, knowing what the pH of your starting soil is really, really important for no matter if you're indoor gardening, outdoor gardening. If you don't know what you're starting with as a base, it's hard to make the adjustments. What say you, Steve-O?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, even in hydroponics, you have to start off with your pH. So, you know, pH is key when trying to grow any plant.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, and if you start off with hot soil, you'll kill your seedlings.
That's right. If it's too hot, when you, which is a term that we use for too much nutrients in the soil. That's just the term for people who may not realize it, because we're going to use that term a lot here tonight, I'm sure. But hot soil is definitely, it can be too much, and it can burn your seedling up almost
fast,
instantly. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, your plants will always let you know.
Yeah.
The way they look, if they're happy or not.
I know I've transplanted one time, and not thinking about it, I give it a full dose right after the transplant. I usually don't do that. I'll give it a half, but it burnt the shit out of it, and it was pissed at me. She was mad, and it took everything I had to get her to come. I had to kind of almost damn near flush her.
Really?
You know, and she finally came back, you know. But there's ways, you know. The good thing about the cannabis plant is it's very resilient. Baby, come back.
Oh, or
But
any
yeah,
plant.
it's it can go through a lot. Autos, they're a little finicky though. But yeah.
Mhm. I mean, we're talking about vegetables. We're talking about any type of plant, you know, even flowers, things of that sort. You know, it all needs to have that good soil, definitely, to get started in. So, what would you say would be a good soil? You know, like, explain your slurry test, Matt, that you were talking about.
Well, now the slurry test, and this is going to kind of depend. There's one factor that's going to change a little bit if you're growing inside or using hydroponics and tap water.
Right.
With that, I go ahead and I try to use the water that I'm going to be watering my plants with. So if I'm inside and I'm going to be using tap water, then I want to use the same water in the same soil. You know, I take about a half a cup of soil and maybe a quarter cup of water, and you just want to mix it up until you get just a nice mud slurry. And then you take your pH meter and you drop it in there and you read what, you know, the water combination and the soil combination is going to give you your base pH. So you'll kind of know that, and then you can adjust your water pH to adjust the full pH. So if say your soil is a little base, then you want your water that you're putting into that soil to be slightly higher or slightly lower in pH, because the higher the acid, the higher the base.
Yeah.
Right.
So you want your water to be a little hotter so you're going to balance out your soil to whatever that optimum pH. When you're doing outside gardening, now this is going to change a little bit. What I would suggest, even though you're probably going to use tap water and a hose to water your plants occasionally during the summer outside, you're going to be relying more on the rainwater. So to do your slurry test, collect rainwater and mix with your soil. And that's going to give you a better natural pH base to work off of. But I believe in doing slurry tests. They're very, very simple to do, and the information that you get from them is invaluable.
Well, isn't it a good rule of thumb that rainwater is usually 7.0 pH?
Yeah, unless you're in one of those regions in the country. If you're around a heavy industrial area,
It could be higher or lower.
right? You could have, you know, a light acid rain, or because you know the environmental conditions around everybody's going to be different. So the rain is not going to be the same pH through all the different regions.
Your foundation includes your water. High concentration of salt from a water softener or high chlorine can also kill plants.
Yeah, like our tap water, if you let it sit in a glass and try and drink it the next day, all you taste, it tastes like you're drinking pool water.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible.
That's how our water is when it's out. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely always make sure you filter it. I learned that a little too late, but we're good now.
You filter your water
Well, you
then?
can
When I
also
was in Illinois, we used to have this. We used to have this machine you could go to, and it was like a big, I don't know, kind of like a storage container, but a little shorter, and it had ice. You could fill up your ice cooler, or you can get bags there, or you can get water. And the water that was there was like 5 gallons for $1. You know, they don't have one over here, unfortunately, and I haven't found one. But that was always at 7, and I loved it because I could go there and I could get it. You know, and it didn't take much to bring it down. Actually, my nutrients that I had then brought it down anyway. But the one I had, the tap water I have here, has got a lot of salt in it, so I have to filter that out. And I kind of bubble it.
in the case of chlorine, you can gas it off. You can, put your water, leave it open for 24 hours or so.
In the sun.
Yeah, in the sun, and that will reduce a lot of the chlorine. So that is, if you have high chlorine water, that is something that you can do to adjust it. And you need to remember that every time you feed.
Yeah, I use my own tap water for my indoor plants, and I let the water sit in a bubbler with a bubbler in it for at least 48 hours usually, which is way overkill. 24 hours is, like you said, is plenty.
24.
And I do 1 gallon at a time, so I usually keep 5 gallons on me. But it's not RO water either. And I come out at 7.0 out of my tap, so I'm lucky there as well. But with my outdoor plants, I put a chlorine filter on my hose. That's what I have.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a faucet.
STEVEO, would you
Is he breaking up for you guys?
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Yeah, he's breaking up for me too.
STEVEO, you used a term.
Like he's trying to speak to me. I know it.
Oh, yeah. RO water?
Yeah, would you explain to folks RO water is?
Well, RO water is reverse osmosis is what I'm talking about. And what it is it's usually a 3-step to a 5-step, sometimes more, filtration system that takes your tap water and I believe it ionizes it somehow, pushes it through a membrane, and it gets out all of the, and through filters, and it gets out all of the different bad things in your water, especially chlorine. Number one, it gets rid of, and it lets you keep the minerals in the water as well. So that's good. But that's about as technical as I know about RO water. But when I'm talking about RO water, I'm talking about reverse osmosis, and you need a system set up in your house in order to have that. So you'll know if you have reverse osmosis water because there's filters that you need to change. So you'd be aware if you have it.
Absolutely.
Right on.
I like James' idea. That's what I'm looking for around here in Missouri is a spring.
Mm-hmm. Spring water is usually a nice fat 7.0 too. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You barely have to bring down the pH.
Ashley.
Yes.
Would you use distilled water for feeding your plants?
I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to add some nutrients to that beauty first.
Yeah.
And then yes.
Minerals, because distilled water
definitely
has no minerals whatsoever in it.
Yeah, you don't want to just give it that. It'll die off. I mean, you might get by with it to let them sprout, but I wouldn't go too much longer without nothing.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I use distilled water in the tower garden because I know I'm going to be adding nutrients, and they're actually mineral nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only time I do. But other than that,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, my water.
Ashley, do you use
for the tower gardens?
Right.
Then the pH, yeah, we have the acid and base to raise it and lower it, but I usually always have to lower it. And then I can go probably a couple weeks before having to adjust it again. Maybe longer. It depends on the plants and how big they are too at the time. So just keep checking it. It'll balance itself out.
Nice.
So we were talking about, now that we've kind of talked about water and your slurry test, some of the things that I found that you can use for pHing your water is baking soda and Epsom salt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most natural way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And if you want to open it, that's to pH down. If you want to pH up, you can use vinegar.
Yeah.
In your water as a natural pH up.
Vinegar, and then pH down is what? Lemon juice, you said?
Lemon.
Did you say that?
No, baking soda and Epsom salt.
Oh, okay.
Baking soda works.
Baking soda and Epsom salt.
Lemon juice as well.
Mm-hmm. I think it takes a lot of lemon juice though, because I have tried that.
I've heard that.
So you might want to try the other ways, unless you got like 50 lemons, you want to go juice.
Yeah, I've always used the pH up, pH down.
Now, see, I'm not real particular with my pH. I'll pH my source once, and maybe even once in a while if you know.
It also, yeah, I feel like it depends on the plant too.
Unless I'm doing the tower garden, I watch that one. That's because it's hydro.
Right, yeah, you got to make sure.
Now, if you're planting a garden outdoors, if you're planting a garden outdoors, pHing, doing a slurry test is always a good idea, because you don't, unless you know what you've grown in that soil, you don't know where your soil stands. Like if you have pine trees in your yard, if you have, you know what I mean, there's different things that really affect black walnut trees that affect the way your plants will grow. And doing a slurry test on your soil for your outdoor garden is always a good idea.
And then that's just your first test. I mean, if everything comes out and it's all kosher, you're great. But if you have to do what we're going to be talking about here very soon, soil amendments to raise or lower your garden pH, you'll want to do a slurry test to see where you're at, so you're not just guessing. Oh, my soil, needs a little lime in it. So we throw a little lime in it, and you just take off running. You don't go back and test your soil, do another slurry test after adding and mixing those amendments in. You're really flying blind again. You don't know if you went too far or not enough. So always do your tests in pairs if you have to make changes.
And that's for your outdoor garden as well. For your vegetables,
that's what I'm talking about.
For your vegetables, for your vegetables, for your herbs, for those kind of things.
So what if somebody doesn't have a pH testing kit? Like, what did they do back in the day?
They use test strips. You can go and you can buy pool test strips. The little little
they're
paper,
about $3.
Yeah, little paper strips.
Talking about Little House on the Prairie days.
Dip those.
Well, Little House on the Prairie, they kind of knew their soil. They knew what they'd grown the years before. They know what they're growing the next years, and they did a lot of crop rotation.
Yeah, back in those days, you'd have to do an actual chemical test, I believe. I don't know when the reactive paper was invented and put in, but it's been around. It's been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
What Matt's talking about is litmus paper, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Litmus test. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Where the term comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. I mean, you guys been growing a lot longer than I have. I've only been growing since 2019. And one of the things I do is I keep it really simple. I don't even do a lot of that stuff. I do well. I let the plant tell me. I look at them, and I have a little chart and a guide that tells me what I need, as far as the other, the PKN stuff, and stuff like that. But the pH is not something I really, really pay a whole lot of attention to. But I grow up.
It can really, Ross.
No,
I don't know who's blocking out at the bar.
We're all talking at the same
Ross,
time.
it's really important to.
I don't know if he's pausing or glitching.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because you guys are kind of glitching out on us also.
No, you.
Ross, I would encourage you to keep an eye.
Now we're glitching.
Now we're glitching. Oh, this is wonderful.
I mean,
cheers.
Give me a minute.
Hey, there we go.
There we go. Let's take this opportunity for a glitch break, and everybody fire it up.
Yes.
Smoke them if you got them.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Matt, when you decided to come up with this, when you came up with this topic, there's been, soil remediation. Okay, now we've talked about, the water being important. We talked about soil and the soil test. We've talked about pH and the litmus test. Now, what about genetics? Okay, now certain genetics will flourish in, like these guys that do all these testers and stuff for these different companies. They let them know, hey, look, this one flourished with higher pH water. This one flourished with lower pH water. This one does this and that. And, we can rely on those testers, to come up with a product to hopefully withstand anything. But at the same time, we want to keep a proper pH. Now, this is going to be probably differing opinions here. But what is, in your opinion, the ideal pH for your soil? Okay, not your hydroponics, but your soil. But for your soil, what would you say that you would want yours to be at?
That's hard because I'm not one to check my soil. I'm always checking my towers.
Yeah.
That's a fair answer.
So my towers, I usually keep it at like a 5.5, 6.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
Now the water that I use for mixing my nutrients, I do pH that, the source, and like I said, once and then maybe once in a while. But I like to keep that, and I think it's like 6.2, between 6 and 6.2 during bloom, and then 5.8 to 6 in veg, and then 5.8 to 6 in bloom. Or do I have that backwards? Yeah, that's right.
You have it right that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm in complete agreement with the both of you. Tower Garden, right at 5.5, Ashley. That's where we run it. And I'm with you, Rasta. Maybe 6.2 I would go to at most. But you're right around 6.0 for the high end. Yeah. Now, what say you, roachies? Are you guys there?
For the soil, again, Steve-O, this kind of ties into what you were saying earlier, that the genetics. So, I do a lot of research before I grow, because I know what kind of climate I can recreate and what grows best. And also, that's part of the study to find out what they recommend. So I try to get as close to the recommended pH
Per strain.
Per strain that I grow. And generally, I only grow once. I may grow 18 plants of one strain. But yeah, so once I get that tent set, it's set, and I base it off of that, and hopefully and most of the times they're right on the money. So, if they're saying 6.2, 6, 5.9, we try to get as close as we can to the recommendations of the testers.
Right. And
Oh,
I know that we go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I tell you what, go to Amazon. You can get a pH meter for I think $8 or $9. A digital meter. They are cheap. It's a tool that everybody should be able to afford. You can go and spend big money like we did on our blue tester. That's depending on how deep in the weeds you went to get. But Amazon, spend a couple of bucks and know what you're growing in.
Joey, we do a slurry test when we're growing in soil. We pH the water and then do a slurry test. So we also test our soil water combination is what we're doing to make sure our pH is dead on.
Yeah. And we were talking about water pH, not soil pH. But when I said soil, I meant your soil grow, not your hydroponic grow, is what I meant. But yeah, the thing about it is I find it much easier in my hydroponic grows to maintain my pH than I do with a runoff test. I notice that my runoff is always so high, but I just stopped doing it. I just stopped doing a runoff test. It was always leading me down different paths and stuff. And like Rasta said, I started keeping it more simple, and I stopped doing runoff tests altogether. But that's just me.
Well, runoff tests are the runoff test is a little bit different than the soil slurry test. What the runoff test is telling you what is running off after feeding. Now, the reason that runoff tests are important, it kind of is telling you about your soil toxicity. And I use a product called SLF 100. And what it helps to do is it helps to flush the salts and the toxic stuff out of the soil. So if you're having, high runoff tests, then your soil could be getting toxic, and that could stunt your growth. So, it's just good information on the health of your indoor soil if you're growing in pots.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
This comment, I just want to
there we go.
Just a little bit about, just because I did like a little video research, and the gardening that I want to do eventually when I have my land, right, one day, is no-tilling gardening. And it's basically rows that you rake into mounds eventually. And that's where you would plant your plants, but it's kind of like its own compost mound. And in order to stop even weeds from growing, you can plant mushrooms. And mushrooms are a good sign of healthy soil because it's a good aerated soil. That means it's decomposing things properly. It also pulls out toxins from the soil. There's even some mushrooms, I'm not sure what kind, but can even pull out like the toxins from like radiation factories and stuff. So like mushrooms are pretty powerful things.
Cannabis,
they feed on things that most things would poison other plants. So great sign of good soil.
Cannabis is also a great plant. Cannabis and hemp are great plants for pulling toxins out of the soil.
Right. So, like, we have so many uses for all of these plants. I don't know why we're using so many fucking toxins, like plastics and stuff.
Right.
There's a guy around here that sells the, he grows mushrooms. It's over in Festus right around me. And he sells, after he harvests the mushrooms out of them, you got the block. He takes that block and he uses it in his soil, and he also sells. He's got hundreds of them, so he sells them blocks too. I don't know how much, but I just seen it on Marketplace, and it's one of those things that mycelium it helps in the soil. I mean, that's kind of the thing behind biochar too. which I'll
Oh,
get
yeah.
into when we
Yeah.
get to that.
Yeah, I use for my psyllium, I use Bigfoot. That was what I was using when I was growing. Well, Steve-O, I think that it's time for a musical break, and then when we come back, we will talk about amending the soil. What can we do to make our soil the best that we can for growing our flowers, our vegetables, our medicine?
Absolutely. Sounds great. So tonight we've got Float Trip. Matt, who's the name of the band of this one again?
It's the Grace Scott Band. Grace Scott Band.
Ray Scott Band. All right, everybody, enjoy. This is a fun one.
Peace. Shoot, shoot.
When the days get hot and you've had a long week and need to get away, there's not too many choices out here we can make. No need for a lake house, a speedboat or a beach. We got a barn full of tubes and coolers full of beer. On a float trip, bring all your friends, jump out the truck and we're hopping in. Lay it on back, no need to swim, radio bumping and we're off. We ain't in a hurry, don't ever worry, brown skin tanning in the sun. On a float trip, down at the end, we meet for a party at the farm. Adam and a John boat trying to show off, clips it right over in the marsh. Guys hopping out on the riverbank to do shots and skip some rocks. The girlfriend's drinking wine, taking in the vitamin D, and a couple more lovers hiding out behind the weeds. On a float trip, bring all your friends, jump out the truck and we're hopping in. Lay it on back, no need to swim, radio bumping and we're off. We ain't in a hurry, don't ever worry, brown skin tanning in the sun. On a float trip, down at the end, we meet for a party at the farm. Guys watch the girls, girls watch the guys. Somebody new caught someone's eye. Tree on the water, rope on a tree. Someone flies off and broke their knee. Oh no, not again. On a float trip, bring all your friends. Jump out the truck and we're up in it. Lay it on back, no need to swim. Radio bumping and we're off. Ain't in a hurry, don't ever worry, brown skin tanning in the sun. On a float trip, down at the end, we meet for a party at the farm. Meet me at the barn.
Hell yeah.
You're muted. Ha, it's your turn.
Hey, back and maybe a little less glitchy.
Sir Steve-O
boy, that was a-
muted.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
it look great.
I switched phones.
fantastic. That was the Grace Scott Band,
Oh, yeah, you
a
guys
working band.
Sorry, I'm late.
That was the Grace Scott Band, a working band out of northern Indiana. Believe it or not, if they're in your area, they play. Oh, I think they play Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. If
Very
they're
cool.
out, check them out live. They are fantastic. If
Oh, yeah.
not, Give them a like, give them a follow on any place that you get your music. All right, we're coming back. We've talked about soil. We've talked about pH. Now let's talk about getting the best soil possible. We'll start off with you, Steve-O. Is there any secret ingredient that you're willing to share with others that you put into your soil that you think, that's the key?
Well, I actually, I just have had one grow with it, and I was super impressed with Third Eye Organics Biochar. I was very impressed. I've had one grow with it, and I absolutely, those plants blew away its neighboring plants in the same tent.
There it is.
Yeah, and we got a sample there. Rasta's using it right now. Rasta, are you using it as a layer method, or are you mixing it into the entire batch of soil? How are you using it?
All different kind of ways, brother. This is
Okay.
I love this stuff. If I can, I'm gonna go here. I'm passionate about this. Ever since I heard Clayton explain it, the science behind it, the biochar, like when a forest burns down, you got that charcoal and stuff that lays on the ground. Well, it starts amending that soil and it starts soaking up them microbes and different stuff. And he's found a way to express that, or not express, speed that process up.
Yeah.
And so the biochar, I'll use it like I'll put a little bit layer of dirt, and then I'll put a layer of biochar, and then I'll do it all the way throughout from the solo cup up.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it all the way through. And whenever what I just did recently was I had a plant that was it was a photo. It was, I don't know, it could flip at any time. It's good 6 weeks old. I'm just waiting for other stuff to flip it. But anyway, it was getting root bound. And I was like, shit, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I just got to thinking, it was late when I was messing with it. So I just grabbed my pot and I hugged it one way and I turned it around and hugged it another way, broke it up. And I did what Clayton does, is spiked it. And I spiked 6 spikes. I took a tent spike and I just stuck it in there and reamed it around a little bit to where it was a nice, good hole.
Yeah.
And I sprinkled biochar in it. And I did that 6 times around. And I watered it good. I watered just a little bit beforehand because you don't want that dirt. As soon as you make the hole, you don't want the dirt falling back in the hole.
Right.
So, but anyway, 2 days later, that thing came out of it and it looked beautiful. This was about a week ago. And, but yes, the biochar, also the tea bags. I use the tea bags in the, because you got bloom and veg. I use the tea bags in the tower garden. I haven't used the bloom one yet, which I'm getting ready to switch. And also, something that he taught me is Nessa had a bite, and he took some biochar and he crushed it up like in a mortar and pestle and into a powder and put some water and toothpaste and made a little paste out of it and put it on that bite, and it went away.
No kidding.
Because
it drew it out.
Yeah.
It drew the toxin out. Yeah.
And it's so amazing, and God, I just love this shit.
Yeah, well, activated charcoal, if you take it either in like pill form or even if you're just swallowing it, it pulls all the toxins out of your body. It's a really good detox for your body. Yeah. So it makes sense. Does the same thing to the dirt.
All right.
Yeah.
But that's my secret ingredient you asked. And it looks like it's Rasta's
right
secret
on.
ingredient too.
Yes.
Right, we have not had the opportunity to try biochar, so looking forward to having the opportunity to try it at some point. So yeah, Ashley, when you garden, do you garden in dirt, or do you just do everything in your tower garden?
I do dirt gardening too. My root vegetables and corn, because I guess I could grow corn on the tower, but it'd look kind of funny.
So do you have a secret ingredient that you mix into your soil?
So obviously I'm a big fan of some chicken shit. That's usually what I would always throw in mine. Cleaning the coop, I'd throw it all out there, and then every spring I'd till it under. And this past summer I grew like 13 foot corn, and a 9.5-foot cannabis plant. And the only spot that did bad was the back half of the garden, but that's when I learned black walnut trees are no bueno. They're going to take all the nutrients for themselves. So the front half was great. But yeah, no, actually my plan is, because obviously we plan on moving, tilling up what I have and bringing it with for the new soil beds, because it is a good use for soil, and it helps. Are they glitching out again?
Oh no, we lost them. Well, they'll be back. They're just spinning.
Yeah, loading in.
They're floating in outer space.
Well, while they're spinning over there, let me go back to the biochar for a minute, if you guys don't, or the TEO. The other amendment, my secret, and I don't know if you use it too, is the bugnetics. The bugnetics part of it, it's beneficial microbes, springtail, and
I don't know why we got booted.
Yeah, nematodes, springtail, and beneficial microbes, and it helps with the bad bugs and stuff in there.
The bed bugs.
Bad bugs.
I know.
Give me
We got cold coming in.
But yeah, TEO's got
Bad bugs.
all three of those.
I guess outside I always mix manure in. That is one of my things that just kind of automatically goes in, and then wood ash is another thing that I'll use because it's great. I have the fire pit outside, so it's easy to scoop up, and plus I have to do something with all the ash that builds up. So best place for it is in the garden. You just have to watch the use. Again, it can raise your pH, so use it sparingly. But that's kind of my secret ingredient. Crystal has a list of items, that household kitchen items. Well, actually, I think we're up to the intermission, aren't we?
We don't have an intermission. We just did
Oh,
We
okay.
just did it.
Never mind.
He's in La La Land.
All right, yeah, I get the different
Let's
shows.
say it again.
Yeah.
So kitchen items that you can use in your garden. First of all, is compost. Well, that's not necessarily a kitchen item, but you should have a compost pile for your kitchen scraps and whatnot. And so coffee grounds is one.
What does coffee grounds do?
Coffee grounds adds nitrogen to the soil and helps improve structure and may deter garden pests.
Yeah, the smell,
So
man.
coffee grounds.
We love the smell of coffee, but not so much pests too.
Right. So banana peels is another one, and banana peels, the outer layer of the banana that's often discarded, is high in potassium, which is important for your plants growing and flowering. And you can, put your banana peels directly into the soil.
Yeah.
And the potassium and the phosphorus from the bananas will seep into the soil.
You can make a tea out of it too.
Eggshells. Yeah, eggshells is another good one. I had a better list, but it's in the other phone.
Well, two of the things you mentioned and one that Master ROACHEE mentioned I use. I don't just use TEO. I also use the coffee grounds, That's where I get my nitrogen. I have banana water, which I take my peels and put them in a jug of water, shake it up, and I use that for my potassium. And if I need to for calcium, I can. I have a CalMag right now, and the Green Rush Nutrients that I use has it in there. But if I need extra, you can always crush up eggshells and get it that way.
Eggshells.
Or you can also do the same thing you were talking about, the boiling it. When you boil your eggs, use that water.
Yeah.
Because that water, when you hard boil eggs, that water draws the calcium out of the shells as well. So that will also give you a calcium water.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can cook chicken salad or egg salad for lunch, and
use the water in your garden.
Use the water in your garden.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We grew up and we would go down to the creek and catch just trash fish and bring them up and put them in the garden also. So there's a wide range of different stuff. But all of this stuff can go directly into your garden or into your compost, or split them different. Take a coffee can or something and put it up by your sink, and throw your kitchen waste into that can go into your compost heap or your garden, and then take it out and sprinkle it around or pour it in. This is very easy, and anybody can do this.
Well, blueberries, radishes, carrots, all of those are great for amending your soil as well. So those kind of scraps out of your kitchen are just like coffee grounds. They will increase your nitrogen in your soil.
And that's one of the things that I've learned too, not by experience, just by watching the videos and trying to do research and learning, because I'm going to be going to a homestead as soon as I can, of course. But that's one of my next goal, and I'll be making my own soil, and I'll be using compost. And the compost, you got to watch the hotness on that too. Test
that catch on fire.
And then that's when I'm going to start. I'll be doing some pH work then. Because definitely I'll have to make sure. When I'm making my own soil. But most of the stuff I use now, I already know what it's. I use the stuff all the time. But yeah,
I had brought up.
Gonna be fun.
I had brought up Epsom salts. Epsom salts is high in magnesium. So if you're looking to boost your magnesium content in your soil, Epsom salts is great. So it's great for roses, for all those plants that need a high magnesium count. So any of your garden plants that you need to boost the magnesium in them, Epsom salts is great for that. I found this other list.
Another list.
So beer and wine is great for your garden soil. It increases your nitrogen as well as your yeast.
Is that recycled beer and wine, or?
My garden's on the wagon.
No. beer and wine put the yeast into your soil, which helps break down the rest of the bad nutrients in the soil, and that's where you get your microbials. So using leftover beer and wine, like what's in the bottom of the bottles or whatever in your soil, can also help with your microbials.
I use
because you're feeding them.
I use molasses for that, and it helps.
Right?
Yes, molasses is another just wonderful thing. I used molasses for years during flowering, and always that's one of my go-tos. And I may even mix up. Now it's blackstrap molasses that you want to use. The green label Briar Rabbit is my favorite, but you want to make sure you get the blackstrap molasses, because it has the sulfur in it.
So you know what else you can use?
What else?
Coconut water. Coconut water is high in electrolytes, magnesium, calcium, and other minerals to help your plants grow bigger and stronger. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I like drinking it.
I've always used grandma's molasses unsulfured, but I get sulfur.
Well, see, this list has blackstrap
from other sources.
All right. Yeah. That's she'll just show me the blackstrap molasses is high in calcium.
Ashley, here's one for you. Your sourdough starter, is great for composting.
Oh, that would make sense. It's already starting to ferment.
The good bacteria adds, bacteria adds nutrients to the soil. Dump any sourdough discard right into your compost pile.
Right on. Yeah. And another thing that I like to use is bone meal.
Yeah.
And bone meal is a very, very useful thing for flowers, vegetables, even bulbs can benefit from a little bone meal. So it's high in phosphorus.
And
so if you need to
point, Master ROACHEE, very good point. And I don't know if anybody knew, but like when you boil your chicken to make like chicken noodle soup, or even just chicken bones you got left over, fucking boil them up and put them in the oven for, I don't know, on a low temperature, kind of like you decarb, about that temperature. And, do it for about half an hour till they dry out, and then crush them in a powder, and there's your bone meal.
Yep, exactly. And you can purchase bone meal at about any gardening store.
Yeah.
I think Walmart even sells bone meal. I think about every place does that has gardening supplies.
Yep.
Except for Dollar General.
But there's all different kinds of things that you can use to amend your soil that don't cost you an arm and a leg.
But it gets down to what Rasta was kind of talking about at the beginning. And Ashley too. The plants will tell you what they're, learn to read your plants, learn to read your garden. And, they will ask you for what they need. And they will also tell you when they've had too much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That one's usually a little quicker.
Yeah. Do you guys have, certain signals? Because everybody kind of. What do you guys look for in your gardens to make sure that they're healthy? What are some of the first signs that you're going, uh-oh, I might have a problem here?
Sometimes drooping is usually the first sign, but usually, obviously, you might need water. But I'd say when the leaves start turning yellow or like maybe some spotty, I don't know, is usually when I'd be like, what the hell's going on? But I won't worry unless I see it on all the leaves, because obviously there's a leaf's natural life cycle. Don't freak out just because it's dying off, But yeah, if it's like the entire plant, that's when you probably should start checking into the nutrients and pH and all of that.
I had an experience. I had some genetics I'd never grown before and tried them out, and I started panicking.
Because they turn purple?
Because the leaves were turning black and purple. I had never grown any that had done that. So I'm taking pictures and I'm sending to friends going, have you seen anything like this? And this has been a while.
Years ago.
Yeah. And they're going, no, man. I said, everything seems to be healthy, but the leaves are changing colors and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then I finally, found, no, that's the way it's supposed to look. But, I was panicking something terrible.
Of course, now there's a ton of strains out there, and that's what people look for, are the colorful strains,
It's funny you say that, Matt, because I was my very first grow. I was calling my teacher all the time. He eventually said, would you just leave it alone and let her grow? But I got to the point where it was right before it just started getting a little bit of trichomes right near the center, just a little bit. And it almost looked like dust on there. And I called him up and I sent him a picture. I said, what the fuck's all this dust? I said, is there tiny bugs? I said, I need a loop, And I called him, and he's like, dude. That's your fucking trichomes. He says, settle down. He says, I'll come over, we'll burn one, and we'll talk for a little bit. And we burned one. He's like, look, you got to let her do what she does. He said, just watch it and learn.
Right. No micromanaging the plant here.
No.
Honestly, I have found that, if you zoom in with your phone when you take the picture and then use the zoom on the picture, I can read my trichomes better that way than I ever could with a loop. So yeah, the phones are fantastic.
The one I had back then, it was a piece of shit.
Right.
2019, you know how that phones they upgrade every week or month.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think every 3 to 5 days, somebody's rolling out with something new.
By the time it gets here in the mail, there's a new version.
Right.
Well, we had to switch out phones because the Motos, which I like, the Motorola's, do not like to do live streaming. and they heat up something terrible. So
noticed
we had to, yeah, we had to put her Samsung in
to make up for it.
yeah, about 20 minutes is all these phones can take.
I got a Moto Edge, the 2025 version. I got on deal with.
Yeah, that's what these are.
And they heat up pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. So, we're talking about soils and amendments and all. We're off to a great start. Now, do you garden also, or is cannabis the main thing you grow?
We are this year. As a matter of fact, I got those old kegger tubs that you can put ice around the keg. I got one of those with the 5-gallon bucket in the center of it, and then I have dirt around that. And I'm going to put, as soon as I'm not going to put the tomato plant in there yet until I get it outdoors and it's lighter. I'll get it out there and I'll put the tomato plant that's in the 5-gallon bucket in the center and plant around it. And I've already got it started. I just got the bucket's already in there. I just got to transplant the tomato plant. But I got onions around it because my yard, I want to do a garden. I live in a trailer yard. So, I mean, I theoretically I could. That'd actually be less I have to mow, which I don't care. It's not much. But also, if we get an opportunity in a homestead thing, I don't want to have to I don't want to put too much invested in the yard. So I'm trying to get stuff like tubs and stuff and do things that I can take with me if need be. Kind of keeping that option open. And but yeah, we're wanting a garden this year. This will be our first time doing it in Missouri in the ground. But I'm gonna also put some cannabis out there, but tomatoes and onions and probably cauliflower, maybe some lettuce, just a few things.
Very cool. We're going to do a few different things this year.
Yeah.
We're going to do a pizza in a basket. Is that right?
Pizza in a bag, in a grow bag. Yeah.
Pizza in a grow bag. So we're going to use a 3-gallon grow bag, and there is
Roma tomatoes, oregano, I can't think of the herbs. Onions, green onions, and I can't remember what else.
Yeah, everything that you would need for pizza sauce in a grow bag on the patio. And then outside the patio along the edges, I'm going to put in a salsa garden. So anything that I would need for salsa and salsa verde, I'm going to be planting around the garden there. So the idea is we can walk out to the porch and we can pick fresh
vegetables,
fresh Roma tomatoes and all the seasoning, come in and blend up our own homemade pizza sauce from the patio. Same thing with our salsa and salsa verde. We can go out, pick it, bring it in, make it up, chill it, and have it for dinner that evening. And we don't have to walk any further than our patio.
And then our garden out in the yard that is normally our garden, we're just going to do vine fruits and vegetables. So we'll do watermelons and that kind of thing out there. And then the fence line inside, we're going to do our cucumbers and our zucchini and squash.
And all of that. And we're going to be putting out some more stuff besides just that. But that's what we're going to be kind of featuring over the summer. Our pizza in a bag and our salsa garden.
And he's got his tea garden.
Yeah, our tea, and we'll have our herb garden, and we'll have other vegetables out also. I just haven't decided what all yet.
That sounds perfect.
Kind of down to the wire.
That sounds like the perfect garden.
So everybody's back.
Yeah.
Ashley, welcome back.
I'm actually hotspotted to my phone. I had the hotspot to my phone. I lost my house internet. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
Oh, no.
I'm here. I did it.
Master ROACHEE, I have that book, Self-Sufficient Backyard, where it shows you how to do an acre, like a homestead on an acre. I won't go exactly, but it's a good blueprint to get started, you know, for a base. And it gives you an orchard where you put your bees out there, you know, for flowers. You got your medicines, garden, different stuff, you know, and your sister plants together. And that's one of the things that I cannot wait until I get out to a homestead and be able to get that in depth into gardening. And just while I'm here, there's a couple of tricks that I've seen online I'll try with buckets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right on. Ross, in fact, next Friday, I think we're going to be talking about companion planting.
Yes.
And so that is going to be a really cool show for you, how to plant plants together to benefit
Each other.
each other.
Yeah.
So companion planting is so important when laying out a garden.
Well, and we don't have a huge yard. We have a half acre, and that's with our house on it. So we don't have a gigantic yard. And the biggest part of our yard is our leach bed for our septic. So we have to pick and choose where we plant things and optimize our space.
I've seen this thing online. It's like a 3-tier thing, and you use like 3, 6, 9 buckets, or you can use 4 on each row. And you've probably seen the reels going around. Those are things that you can save space. Me and Ashley seen this one. It was like a PVC pipe that swirled all the way up, and it had holes all the way. It's kind of like a hydro. It was really neat. And,
I've seen the terrace gardens that you were talking about with the buckets, and those are really interesting, very interesting.
I feel like that would be a good system to hook up to maybe a gutter system and have it drop.
Yeah,
there.
that'd be kind of cool.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Did I just invent something.
Or have it go to the rain barrel first, so it can.
Yeah.
Then go to your. Yeah.
There you go.
Hell yeah!
No shit. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm about to clean up the tower garden and get it going again. And
I know, guys. See, so exciting.
Get my fresh salads again for the season. And, we'd like to grow romaine. Romaine grows real well. And
that E. coli spreader.
It'll grow out in like 3 days. It'll grow out 2 or 3 inches, and I can get off of 2 or 3 different spots. I can every day have a lunch salad. Every day I have enough, because we planted it all around. That's
romaine.
We'll pick that romaine that we've got and start it.
I'm gonna have a smaller yard to garden with, so I'm gonna have to get. I have a cow panel fencing. I'm gonna bring. I'm gonna do that as an archway for some vining plants again. And I brought my raised garden beds. Gonna bring some dirt with me too. We're gonna. Yeah.
There's my tower.
Yeah,
right
so
now.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah, gorgeous.
You
got some autos in there, some jalapenos,
I got a ton of autos in
flour, and some leaf lettuce.
Yeah,
because I can't fucking germinate iceberg lettuce.
Iceberg doesn't have any.
No, but you can take the core of iceberg lettuce just like you do with romaine and start it in water and grow roots out of the base.
Yeah.
But Mama, I'm stubborn. I have to overcome this feat. I will make it.
We'll definitely have to have romaine and spinach this year.
Yeah. But you can take regular iceberg lettuce, even though iceberg lettuce has absolutely no nutritional value, Rasta.
Yeah.
You're better off with romaine. Iceberg lettuce is about the same. You can take the core of the plant and put it in water and grow roots.
Right. Yep.
I saved the green onion one time and stuck it in my tower garden. That still had the roots at the store, and it started growing for me.
Nice.
Green onions and
Oh, we lost
him again. Also, garlic. If you buy peeled garlic at the store,
Yeah.
I've bought bags of peeled garlic, and I keep it in the refrigerator, but it'll start to sprout in the bag before I get to use it all. And you can plant those garlic nodes, the cloves. It's not a clove because a clove is the whole thing, but those nodes from the clove, you can plant each of those and grow your own garlic.
I knew that, and you can do that with a lot of stuff. I got a pineapple in there I'm gonna fuck around with and try it. It'll take a while, but I got.
Yeah, I want to grow pineapple, but I don't know if I have 2 years of patience.
It'll last until
Kroger's is too close.
Right.
I'll leave it for the next people.
Yeah, I love fresh pineapple.
Hi, David. He said, I said, hi, damn it. David, we can't see the comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can do that.
But hi, David. David will also be our guest host next Friday night.
Awesome.
Yeah, Dave's going to stop in and join us and hang out and talk. So yeah, we're wanting to get everybody involved, and love to have the insight
from the guest host. Yes,
guest host.
I appreciate you guys having me up here because I love it was perfect. I love just getting into this TO and the soil and stuff, and I had other amendments too. But when I was taught at the beginning, I was taught by an old guerrilla grower, and he won't even touch a feminized seed. He been growing 40 years and stuff, but he taught me a certain recipe, and I lost that recipe. And plus there was stuff in there that I had changed, wanting to change, and now that I'm starting over with the TO, it was really a good start.
Right on. Yeah, today,
guys, that's my
today
niece.
growing.
That's your niece?
Yeah. What's up, Kay?
It's a lot easier growing today than when I started growing, because there wasn't any prepackaged soil. There weren't any nutrients. You had to come up with them pretty much on your own. So you learned to build your own soil and all. Today you can go out and
everything's packaged.
Well, Fox Farms Ocean Garden is a incredible soil. I mean, really, you could almost grow in it without adding nutrients. I mean, it's a high quality soil. So people have it pretty easy learning to grow. Grow.
And I know a lot of people that use Fox Farm for their garden, not for cannabis, for their gardens.
Oh yeah.
And
I used to
because they don't have to add any kind of. Yeah, you don't have to add any kind of nutrients to it.
The Coco Loco and
Go ahead.
The Coco Loco and the Ocean Forest, the same one he was talking about. Those are the two I used to use. Now I use Mother Earth.
Right on. I was using Nectar's number 9 cocoa, and it's virtually devoid of any nutrients whatsoever. So it doesn't provide anything until you provide something to it.
Yeah. And I remember the old skunk weed we all remember. My dad's one of his good friends used to grow that, and he grew it outside, and it still came out beautiful. And I remember talking to him just here and there. And he was always trying something new with his soil and different stuff and new compost, and putting different stuff in his compost and stuff, made his own soil. And he would amend the spots where he would grow, and he'd have it in different, how it was back then. You didn't put them all in one spot. Don't keep all your plants in one basket.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
Gardening, even if it's a small garden, it has more benefits than just what it produces. And part of that is, I know that when I garden, when I get out there and it's almost like Zen-like when I focus in on my plants and, just share their energy, tend to them, whether it's outdoors or indoors. It's something that extra that gardening brings.
Definitely.
It is. It's
Go ahead,
Adds
Mama.
to the mind.
no. Go ahead.
It really putting your hands in dirt releases serotonin, and which is the happy juice. And it's really nice to, you said it perfectly. The Zen garden. That's what I I be in a mood of some sort. Off mood. I can go in my garden and get lost for a while. I throw on some classical music, not classic rock sometimes, but the girls they love classical music, and I do too. It calms me down. And I sit there and jam on that for a while I'm getting my hands in the dirt and releasing that serotonin. And
So I don't know about you guys, but I like to be out in the yard and garden barefoot.
Yes. In my bathing
As long as
suit
it's
with
not
the
weedy.
sprinkler going because you're watering and cooling down and gardening all at the same time. It's the best.
I'm gonna have to try that.
So grounding yourself while you're doing this makes a big difference in your mental health. And I know some people believe in it, some people don't, but I believe that grounding is absolutely a positive thing, and that you should garden barefoot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a good night, David.
I think you should garden naked.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's coming up. That is Naked Gardening Day is tomorrow.
Woohoo! My neighbors will be happy again.
I know, right?
Naked Gardening Day.
Maybe I should use this to my advantage.
That's one way for the neighbors to get.
Take a look at this
Naked
guy.
Gardening Day.
I guess we'll go another year without the neighbors speaking to me.
Right.
Maybe they will finally put up some privacy fencing.
I wish they would. It would save me a lot of money.
No shit.
I wait for them all to put it up, and I got my own privacy fence for free.
I love it. Does this mean you put copper in your shoes? I would like to know, because I've heard good things about copper in the soles of shoes as extra grounding techniques.
I've heard that too, but the whole problem is the rubber of the sole stops the connectivity.
Yeah.
that would make
it eliminates that.
Yeah, the rubber shoes. Now, back when there was leather-soled shoes, yes, but the rubber-soled shoes,
Completely eliminates any connectivity you'd have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
So, I mean, I wear my Crocs to go outside, but then when I get in the grass, buddy, them suckers come off.
Fling.
Now, one important thing about Mama ROACHEE and working in the garden.
I don't wear gloves.
And this is very important. She doesn't weed.
I don't wear gloves. So I always got dirt under my nails.
And you don't weed.
Summer's manicure, baby.
Yeah, so when she talks about working in the garden, it's pretty much harvesting.
Planting and harvesting. I let him do the weeding.
Yeah.
See, it's
So,
like some of those weeds, though, you want to save for your tinctures and stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, your garden, your backyard, the fence row that runs behind your house, has some amazing properties hidden right in front of our faces.
My wife is a weed fanatic. If we're out in the yard, she does it at other people's house. She'll see a weed or two and she's like, fuck, I gotta get that. Yeah. All right, go for it. She'll go over there, she'll start.
That was like the chore that my kids hated the most was weeding.
Oh, she's nuts about it. I cleaned up the trees out there, and I was like, all right, there's some weeds out there I need to get, or something like that. I said, I'm going to take a break. And she's like, she was taking a break that day. She's like, I ain't doing nothing. Sitting here about 5 minutes, and she got up, went out there, and started pulling weeds.
She's like,
you got a problem.
The only weeding I do is the front flower beds on the front of the house. I let him do the rest.
And she doesn't do a good job when she does those.
Well, yes, I do.
I have to go back behind.
The front flower beds usually have mulch, so I don't have to worry
Well,
about it.
everything has mulch eventually, but to mulch everything that we mulch takes between 25 and 30 bags. So it's almost cheaper to go get
A wood chipper.
a
Right,
pickup truck full of mulch.
Mhm.
So yeah, it takes we have a lot of mulch. Hmm.
Yeah, tree hugging. I heard, or maybe I seen a
Good night,
video
Dolly.
somewhere. Good night, Dolly. I heard a video
Good
somewhere
night.
that if you hug a tree for at least 30 seconds, it literally can help like pull the negative energy from you. And I'm like, that's so cool. I'm gonna go hug 50 of them.
Yeah, and that is exactly right. Hugging a tree
Yeah, I
is an
love that.
emotional release. And you know, that's why people use the derogatory term tree hugger. Because yeah, you would see people hugging trees. But it's surprisingly beneficial. Quit laughing at me till you try it. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go ahead and laugh. Go out and
Don't knock
try
it
it
till you
tomorrow,
try
and you'll. Yeah. Then we'll see who's
Complete
laughing.
Tide Pods.
Why you guys think hippies were so mellow?
My trees are all crying because that tornado took out branches on all of our trees.
You better
So
go hug
our
them.
mulberry got split. Our ornamental pear
Lost half of it.
lost half of it. The red bud actually looks pretty good. It lost some branches, but it's okay. But all of our big trees lost like half of their mass with the tornado. So so they're going to be doing some healing this year.
Yeah.
But here in a couple of weeks, I'm having one hell of a bonfire.
But you want to hear what else is amazing? The willow that is a stick sticking up in the yard didn't get touched by the tornado.
That's funny.
It bent over a little bit.
Yeah, well,
You know
they're
it's in
all
a
that
good
way.
spot,
I got
man.
to stake it.
Where there's a willow, there's a way.
Where there's a willow, there's a way.
Where there's a willow, there's a red ass close by.
Yeah, that was my household.
It's funny.
Weeping willow was my mom's
Oh, I love
favorite,
those.
favorite tree.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we planted.
I love
We
those.
planted a weeping willow, but right now it's just like maybe a 1.5 inch stick sticking up out of the ground with some branches off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted a weeping willow, and we have a very wet yard with a very high water table. So that we planted a willow to dry it up because they will suck water.
I bet it'll grow quick too with such a perfect little environment too.
Yeah. That's what we're hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, the trees' roots are just as big underground. I thought they were twice as big as I thought. I don't know. But I just like the tree of life in nature and how it's connected in so many different ways, even with the human body, the way it looks.
Right.
Like
As above, so below.
Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly why it's a good reason to have good soil, because all them roots underground, they go out now, you know, and having all them, that's what helps with them, like different size pots and stuff like that. You know, that's why you get bigger plants, because they get bigger roots. Bigger the root, bigger the fruit.
Sweet your beans at every meal.
So, Ashley, what are you planting in your tower garden this year?
Currently I have lots of autos and lettuces. But you know, I'd say it's time to almost start a new garden season, but I plan on doing all of it again. The corn, tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, squash, tomatoes, and then obviously some carrot, like my root vegetables, potatoes and carrots. And I kind of wanted to try some different things that I've never grown before, like kohlrabi and more things like that. Just, you know, why not?
Okay. But is there anything that the kids say, we gotta grow? Mom, you gotta grow this. Is there a family favorite?
Gosh, always green beans are a must.
American.
They love munching on those. Like I don't even have time to cook those and gather them up because they're always eating them. The
love-
cucumbers
You know,
too.
Those are things I think that are lacking right now. So, like, do you
Yeah.
sit down and snap green beans with the kids? That was like my favorite thing to do with my mom in the
Yeah,
summer.
we don't snap them; they just eat them.
I hated Shelly beans. God, I spent hours cracking Shelly beans growing up. Sugar peas are great
Yes.
to eat right off the
So good.
plant. Yeah,
So peas.
I really love lima beans, but taking those off and waiting for those to grow is a very much pain in the ass.
right on. Yeah,
They're so good, though.
yeah.
So
and,
good.
and then you have to shell them too.
Right.
Yeah, Shelly beans, lima beans. Yeah. I have had my fill of. Because,
And then some you're hoping for 3 seeds, and it's only like 1, and you're like, damn it.
right. or you pop it open and you got 3 seeds and a 4th mutant.
Right.
You know, it's all weird.
You guys, I hate to say this, but it's time to end the show. And STEVEO cannot get back on the internet. So, Miss Ashley, I'm going to have to ask you to end the show for us. But we probably won't have the outro. Because
Okay.
He just popped back. I don't know if he's making it.
is he back?
Load. But even if he isn't able to, we can all meet together next week at 9 p.m. again.
Right on. Yeah.
All aboard. Baby.
You know what? We've had a wonderful talk about how it's important to set your foundations both in your garden and in your life. So, you can only grow strong and flourish if you have a strong foundation. So join us next week.
Right here.
For more Groove Train.
Same groove time.
And same groove place. And until then, oh, hold on. We got to do one other thing.
We got to do one other thing.
Ashley, tell us where we can find you.
Hey, how about on Sunday nights on the NOK Network, the IWK Sesh at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me on my homesteading journey and the time it takes to get there. Who knows? But we will get there. Tuesdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with my awesome friend Rasta Rhino. I don't know which side you're on according to these people, but join us to talk about both of our homesteading journeys and learning about all nutrition and how to stay healthy. And of course, as we've mentioned, the Groove Train on Fridays.
Right on. Rasta, how can people find you and what else are you doing?
Well, everybody, I do a show Mondays and Fridays at high noon Central Standard Time. It's talks about mental health and substance abuse, my journey in addiction and mental health recovery, and using cannabis in that journey. Also, my homesteading journey, like Ashley's doing too. I'm doing it down here in come from Illinois to Missouri, so then we get together and talk about it together on Tuesdays at 9:30 Central Time, but 10:30 her time. And also the NOK Network, I do the Thursday night IWK 710 daily. So yeah, I think that's all. And I'm always at Misfit Island, so you can find me there too.
Right on, right on. And you can catch Sir STEVEO.
Sir STEVEO on Wednesday nights on the 710 Daily Sesh. Or on Wednesday nights, right? Wednesday nights, 710 Daily Sesh on the NOK Network, as well as Peace News and Views on Wednesday night on the NOK Network.
And Friday night here at Groove
Here
Train.
at the Groove Train.
For us, you can catch us Thursday nights at 9:15 for Thursday Night Vibes.
On the NOK Network.
On the NOK Network. And then you catch us here also on Friday nights for the Groove Train. So,
choo-choo.
Until next Friday, have a safe and wonderful weekend. Until then, peace, love, good vibes, cuckoo, ka-choo.
Good night, everybody.
Oh yeah, we stepping off the groove train. Ride was fly. Ooh yeah, snapping fingers, tapping toes, we touching the sky. You tuned in, zoned in, we felt the love like a rocket ship, a rhythm. got your ear tweaked. This groove train rolling never hits the peak. Oh, thank you for watching us groove. You got the funk fever, can't help but move. We see you there, smiling in the zone, together in the rhythm. You ain't alone. We sending out love through the funk text stream, dreaming big rhythms, living the dream. Your support fuels the engine, heels hitting the floor. Groove train riding, always wanting more. Thank you for watching us groove. You got the funk fever, can't help but move. We see you there, smiling in the zone.